Hello everyone and welcome. Before we begin, I'm curious, where are you listening to this story from? And what time is it where you are? It's fascinating to think that, in places across the world, people are experiencing entirely different moments in the day while you're here, listening, as the minutes pass. Today, we're going to explore a world before alarm clocks existed, a time when the rhythm of daily life was guided not by a device that buzzes or rings, but by nature, routine, and human invention in its most patient forms. In the earliest days, long before the invention of mechanical alarms, waking up was a matter of attunement. People relied on the sun's gradual rise, letting the first light filter through their simple dwellings, casting faint shadows on mud walls, wooden floors, or straw mats. Birds served as natural heralds of morning, their songs echoing through fields and forests, signaling to anyone awake enough that the day was beginning. Farmers, who depended entirely on daylight to tend crops or care for livestock, often rose at the first whisper of light, nudged sometimes by the low grunts or bleats of animals needing attention. Imagine a small village where the faint crow of a rooster is considered the most precise instrument for measuring time, even though it varies day by day, season by season. In ancient Egypt, mornings began with more than just the sun. Servants and family members would carry out carefully timed rituals, washing, tending fires for cooking, and preparing the first meals of the day. They used sundials not to tell exact hours as we do today, but to estimate the sun's position, planning their labor accordingly. By contrast, in the densely forested villages of northern Europe, where sunlight struggled to reach the forest floor, people often relied on sensory cues. The smell of dew on grass, the coolness of morning air, or the sounds of nearby streams and rustling wildlife. Such subtle signals required a heightened awareness, an intimate understanding of one's environment, and even the ability to predict how the weather might shift later in the day. And while many mornings started with work, there was also an almost ritualistic element to waking. People would whisper news or gossip from the previous day, sometimes as they carried water from wells, milked goats, or chopped wood. Children, if awake, would imitate the adults, learning their schedules through observation rather than instruction, internalizing the rhythm of life without clocks dictating their routines. In markets and gathering spaces, merchants would begin to set up their stalls at seemingly random times that were in fact governed by these natural indicators, and early buyers, knowing the patterns, would arrive accordingly, engaging in casual negotiations over fresh produce, grains, or textiles. Interestingly, communities often had their own audible markers. In medieval Europe, church bells were rung not just for prayer, but to indicate times of day for work, meals, and communal gatherings. The tolling of the bell was a kind of collective alarm, but unlike our modern devices, it required everyone to be alert, attentive, and present in the moment. Imagine a small town square where a child learns the hour by watching the bell's swinging motion, or a miller adjusting the operation of his windmill according to the chimes that echo through the valley. There was also the subtle use of smoke signals or morning fog dispersing over fields to guide travel and labor schedules, all requiring a careful eye and patience rarely exercised in our era of digital convenience. Of course, nights were equally instructive. Without electric lighting, people adapted to natural darkness. Firelight was a precious tool, and the patterns of evening light dictated bedtime rituals. Those preparing for early rising would go to bed with the moon or stars as companions, ensuring that their bodies would wake naturally before dawn. Some civilizations employed clever methods to stimulate waking without mechanical devices. In ancient China, water clocks would drip steadily into containers, producing soft splashes that gradually increased in volume, waking sleepers slowly and gently. In other regions, communal sounds like roosters, dogs, or the distant cries of fishermen heading to the sea before sunrise served the same purpose, uniting human effort with environmental cues in a delicate synchronization that we now rarely consider. And yet, Despite the apparent simplicity of these methods, life was not easy. Missing a morning could mean lost labor, spoiled food, or delayed tasks that rippled through the day. People became masters of attention and foresight, reading the subtlest signs in the environment to anticipate the correct moment to rise, move, or act. They developed internal clocks as precise as any mechanical device, finely tuned over years of repetition and observation. Perhaps the most remarkable aspect was how this dependence on natural rhythm influenced behavior, sleep patterns, and social interactions. People learned to respect the slow unfolding of the day, to find harmony with the environment, and to recognize that the passing of time was not something measured in seconds, but in actions, sounds, and sights carefully attended to. So, as we drift through this story, imagine a world where every awakening is a negotiation with nature itself, where every morning holds tiny discoveries, and where the concept of an alarm is not a mechanical intrusion but a dialogue with the sun, the wind, the animals, and fellow humans. It is a world where waking up is a skill as vital as any other, a skill that carries lessons we may have forgotten in our modern, instantaneous society. The next moments of this tale will carry us further into these rhythms, showing how people organized their lives, entertained themselves, and navigated the challenges of a day entirely unbound by the artificial precision of a ringing clock. As the first light of dawn spreads across fields and villages, people step fully into the day, moving with the precision of habit, even without a clock to mark the hours. In one small village nestled by a winding river, families emerge from their homes, carrying simple baskets to gather food for the morning meal. Smoke rises from clay ovens and hearths, blending with the earthy scent of dew-soaked ground, and the air vibrates softly with the low hum of human activity. Here, mornings are not dictated by alarms but by shared understanding. The moment when livestock stir, when the river begins to shimmer with the first reflections of sunlight, or when the distant toll of a bell signals that the day is officially underway. Children follow elders with quiet curiosity, learning not through instruction but observation, absorbing the rhythm of labor and leisure simultaneously. A boy follows his father to the river, dipping his hands into cold, flowing water while listening to the stories of past generations. Each tale is embroidered with practical lessons. How to read the current, how to find fish hiding beneath stones, and how to recognize the subtle signs of approaching weather. Nearby, women knead dough for bread, their hands moving in precise, practiced patterns that have been repeated for decades, while exchanging whispers about market prices, neighbors' affairs, and rumors of faraway travelers passing through the region. These moments, though ordinary, form the invisible web of community life, a carefully synchronized rhythm that guides everyone without needing the chime of a mechanical alarm. In another part of the village, craftsmen and artisans begin their work as soon as their eyes adjust to the light. A blacksmith strikes iron on an anvil, each rhythmic clang echoing across the valley, a signal to neighbors that the day has begun. Nearby, a weaver moves the shuttle back and forth, the sound of the loom mingling with the calls of roosters and the rustle of leaves in the morning breeze. Even the birds seem to play a role in this daily orchestra, their melodies shaping moods and pacing as naturally as the sun climbing higher in the sky. People have learned to live in harmony with these sounds, letting them structure not only work but conversation, leisure, and rest. Meals themselves are a reflection of this unhurried synchronization. In the absence of precise timing, food is prepared according to natural cues. Bread rises as the sun warms the room, porridge thickens as water reaches the correct temperature over a carefully tended fire, and milk is collected from goats or cows precisely when the animals are ready, not when a clock demands it. Each task is interconnected, a chain reaction that depends on observation, patience, and shared experience. At the same time, small personal habits emerge. Someone hums a tune while grinding grain, Another recites a poem remembered from childhood, and a third sketches simple shapes in the dirt while waiting for water to boil. These subtle, seemingly trivial actions reveal a profound truth. Life before alarm clocks was a continuous, delicate negotiation with time itself. Entertainment, too, is woven into these routines. In the afternoons, after labor has been accomplished, villagers gather in open spaces to share stories, sing songs, or perform small theatrical enactments. Children mimic adult tasks in playful fashion, inventing games that reflect the work they have observed, while elders offer gentle guidance through tales of myth, history, or local gossip. One might overhear a humorous story about a mischievous goat disrupting the market, or the clever tricks of a traveling merchant who had visited a neighboring town. These narratives, full of humor, instruction, and small surprises, create a shared mental landscape, keeping the community engaged while reinforcing the timing of the day. Interestingly, social signals also replace mechanical timekeeping. If the miller stops turning the water wheel, neighbors know it is nearly noon. If smoke from distant chimneys drifts lazily in one direction, fishermen anticipate a change in wind patterns. Villagers communicate with subtle signs, sounds, gestures, and shared observations, forming an intricate network of information that allows life to progress smoothly, even when exact hours are impossible to measure. Each person becomes a living clock in their own right, attuned to a combination of environmental cues and human behavior that ensures the daily rhythm remains unbroken. As the day stretches toward afternoon, people begin to prepare for meals, rest, and chores that extend into the evening. In quieter moments, the sun casts long shadows across the fields, and conversations turn to memory, reflection, and planning. A young woman checks her small herb garden, noting which plants are ready for drying. A man repairs a broken wheel on a cart, quietly muttering observations about previous trips. A child counts pebbles while waiting for the water to finish boiling. Each action, no matter how small, contributes to the seamless flow of life, a testament to the ways in which people mastered the art of living without mechanical alarms. Even as night approaches, the pattern continues. The sun dips low, fires are stoked, and families gather to share a simple meal, recounting the events of the day. Candles or small oil lamps flicker to provide gentle light, creating a sense of calm and containment, preparing everyone for sleep that will naturally transition into the next day. Life before alarms was an unbroken chain of observation, action, and reflection, where each person played a vital role in maintaining the rhythm of the community. It was a life in which time was not measured in minutes, but in moments, interactions, and the ever-changing dance of light, sound, and human endeavor. As the cycle of day gives way to evening, life before alarm clocks demonstrates its remarkable adaptability once more, this time in how people manage the delicate transition from daylight to darkness. In small communities across the world, the night is not merely a time to sleep. It is a period of quiet observation, preparation, and sometimes vigilance. Those who live near rivers or coasts often maintain night watches, keeping an ear attuned to the subtle shifts in the environment. An unusual rustle in the reeds might indicate the approach of an animal, while the scent of damp earth can foretell a sudden change in weather. For these early societies, every sound, every movement, is a cue, a piece of information carefully interpreted to ensure safety and maintain the rhythm of life. In a northern settlement, near forests dense with evergreens, the long winter nights demand both creativity and endurance. People huddle around fires that crackle softly, sharing stories passed down for generations, stories that double as instructions for surviving harsh conditions. Children learn to recognize the patterns of stars as guides, while adults check food supplies and mend clothing in preparation for the colder months. Without alarm clocks to schedule the day, they rely on these preparations to dictate when to rise, when to rest, and how to divide labor among household members. Each task, from stacking firewood to salting meat, becomes a temporal marker, anchoring the passage of time through necessity and habit. Meanwhile, in regions where the climate is warmer and nights shorter, communities develop alternative methods. In ancient Mesopotamia, for example, workers rise in the dim pre-dawn light, often guided by the calls of priests or labor foremen. Temples and ziggurats serve as auditory landmarks, their daily rituals providing signals to start agricultural work or trade. The process is seamless. As incense burns and chants echo softly through streets and courtyards, a collective understanding emerges, synchronizing the start of work for everyone in proximity. Markets open not because a bell has rung, but because merchants know the sun has reached a position where buyers typically arrive, and they have prepared goods accordingly. Further south, in the dense landscapes of Mesoamerica, the story is different yet equally fascinating. Communities rely on observation of celestial bodies, the rising of certain stars, or the appearance of the crescent moon, to predict ideal times for planting, harvesting, or traveling. People awaken naturally, often encouraged by the gentle light filtering through woven matting, or by the distant sounds of early risers navigating narrow pathways between dwellings. Parents awaken children with soft touches or whispered words, instilling a rhythm that teaches both discipline and attentiveness, showing that even without modern devices, humans are capable of remarkable timekeeping. Curiously, social expectation also dictates behavior. In small European hamlets of the Middle Ages, for example, the opening of bakery ovens or the ringing of church bells functions almost as an alarm, and missing such cues carries tangible consequences. Bread could burn, livestock could go hungry, or communal labor could be delayed. In these villages, neighbors sometimes create informal signals to ensure no one oversleeps. A gentle knock on a door, a message passed along fences, or even the distant clatter of a cart heading to the market. Over time, these informal cues form an intricate network, a human-made system of temporal coordination that keeps society functioning smoothly, all without a single mechanical alarm. Entertainment and personal activity are likewise integrated into these rhythms. Evening games, storytelling, and informal competitions, like who can carry the heaviest basket of grain to the mill or who can best recall the tales of ancestors, occupy people's minds and bodies, serving as both leisure and subtle markers of time's passage. In the absence of modern clocks, people develop a keen sense of pacing. They can estimate the duration of tasks with remarkable accuracy, whether counting steps along a path, measuring the drip of water in clay vessels, or timing the cooking of porridge over a hearth. Even sleep itself is carefully regulated, often dictated by natural cycles rather than fixed schedules. People become adept at aligning their circadian rhythms with environmental signals. The early riser may be the first to climb from bed with the faintest light, while others rest longer, yet still awaken in time for critical daily activities. Families and communities develop shared understandings of these patterns, and though the day's progression seems effortless, it is in fact the result of centuries of observation, adaptation, and trial and error. This careful attunement to the natural world fosters a subtle appreciation of life's flow. People notice details we often overlook today: the shift of wind direction, the early song of a sparrow, the cooling of earth as night approaches, and the way clouds gather before a storm. All of these become cues integrated seamlessly into daily routines. In this way, life before alarm clocks was not chaotic or random. It was a continuous negotiation with nature, a dialogue between human intention and environmental reality, a slow dance of preparation, activity, observation, and rest. As morning light gradually fills the sky, the day unfolds in ways that are entirely guided by observation, habit, and necessity. In rural communities across Asia, for example, People begin their mornings with precise routines that combine practicality and ritual. Farmers check irrigation channels, adjusting wooden gates to ensure that fields receive the proper flow of water, while the soft quacking of ducks signals the optimal time to release them into rice paddies for natural pest control. These seemingly mundane actions are a carefully orchestrated rhythm, demonstrating how communities synchronize labor without mechanical intervention. In another region, North African villages awaken to the sound of early risers walking through narrow streets to fetch water from communal wells. The water's temperature, the scent of wet clay, and even the angle of the morning sun provide clues about the day's potential heat and work ahead. People develop remarkable memory for these subtleties, noting, for instance, that a faint smell of smoke indicates a neighbor has started baking bread, signaling that it is nearly time for breakfast. Children carry small clay pots alongside their parents, learning not only practical skills but also the delicate art of reading the environment, a skill crucial in societies that have no reliance on clocks or alarms. Across the seas in the Americas, indigenous communities employ similar ingenuity. Early risers interpret the first light on mountains, rivers, and forests, timing hunting expeditions and agricultural work accordingly. Hunters move with stealth, guided by dew patterns on leaves and the occasional stirring of distant animals. Farmers plant seeds or harvest crops according to seasonal cues, often supported by community elders whose keen understanding of the landscape ensures that labor is performed at the most effective moments. Each activity, though seemingly isolated, is part of an intricate web of interdependent timing, a human network perfectly in sync with the natural world. Meanwhile, in Northern Europe, long summer days and short winter ones dictate entirely different rhythms. During summer, the day begins early, with laborers heading to fields while the sun is still low, taking advantage of the extended light. Villagers might use simple tools such as water clocks or sundials to approximate time, though these instruments are far from precise. The real mastery lies in observation, knowing exactly how long it takes for shadows to stretch across the courtyard, or for the morning mist to dissipate from the hills. This knowledge is shared orally, passed down from one generation to the next, creating a living archive of temporal expertise embedded in everyday life. In these communities, meals also reflect the subtle interplay of time and human activity. Breakfasts are often simple but carefully timed. Bread is baked just as the first sun rays reach the courtyard. Porridge simmers until water has sufficiently absorbed grains, and milk is collected from cows or goats at the optimal moment. In some villages, families follow a rhythm in which one person begins preparing food, while another fetches water or tends animals, ensuring that tasks converge seamlessly and that everyone eats together at a time naturally dictated by the unfolding day rather than a mechanical signal. Interestingly, communal coordination extends beyond labor and meals. Markets open according to the natural flow of visitors, not the ringing of a bell. Merchants know when buyers are likely to arrive by observing sunlight, shadows, and the faint sounds of travelers approaching. Bargaining begins naturally, and goods are exchanged with a subtle awareness of time, allowing commerce to proceed efficiently without rigid schedules. This informal system fosters social cohesion. Everyone relies on the same cues, creating a shared sense of timing that regulates community life smoothly and harmoniously. Even leisure is shaped by the absence of alarms. Children invent games that mimic adult tasks, developing skills for future responsibilities while also marking the passing of hours in playful ways. Music, storytelling, and communal crafts provide mental stimulation and social bonding, all occurring within a natural rhythm dictated by daylight and shared attention. People are alert to subtle changes in weather, the behavior of animals, or the arrival of visitors, using these observations to adapt their routines fluidly. The day progresses organically, a continuous flow that balances labor, rest, education, and social interaction without ever requiring an artificial timekeeper. As morning transitions into afternoon, this delicate balance continues. Tasks naturally evolve with light, temperature, and social cues. Fields that were tended earlier in the day are now left to rest, fires are stoked for cooking, and discussions between neighbors shift toward planning for upcoming tasks or recounting stories from past days. Without clocks, people become masters of patience, observation, and timing, cultivating skills that allow them to navigate the complexities of daily life with remarkable precision. In this way, life before alarm clocks was a continuous practice of attentiveness, blending human ingenuity, environmental awareness, and social coordination. Each morning was a lesson in observation, a dance of hands, eyes, and ears that shaped how communities functioned, connected, and thrived. The absence of mechanical urgency did not hinder productivity. Rather, it fostered an intimacy with time that modern societies rarely experience, a subtle mastery over natural rhythms that dictated every action from sunrise to sunset. As the sun dips toward the horizon, the day begins its gentle descent into evening, and the rhythm of life shifts subtly but perceptibly. Villages, towns, and isolated homesteads all engage in practices that signal the transition from active labor to rest, guided entirely by observation, experience, and community cues. In northern European hamlets, for example, long summer evenings are a period of bustling activity. Farmers finish tending crops, the last few animals are corralled, and fires are stoked not just for warmth but for preparing evening meals. The air carries a mixture of smoke, the faint scent of baked bread, and the earthy aroma of soil recently turned, a sensory symphony that tells everyone it is time to begin winding down. In Mediterranean regions, evenings are a combination of relaxation, reflection, and practical preparation. Women bring in herbs and vegetables from gardens, while men repair tools and equipment, ensuring that all is ready for the next day. Children chase each other through courtyards and narrow lanes, laughing and imitating the tasks of adults, learning rhythm, timing, and communal responsibility through play. In these moments, natural light slowly fades, and people pay attention to the changes in shadows, the cooling of the air, and the softening of sounds across fields and streets. These environmental cues, often subtle, guide behavior, marking the natural beginning of rest. In Asia, the evening carries a distinct set of rituals, some practical and others more reflective. Families gather near water sources or in open courtyards, washing, preparing food, or arranging communal spaces for meals. The sound of flowing water, clinking of cooking vessels, and faint murmur of conversation all combine into a living orchestra, signaling the approaching close of the day. People note the direction of the wind or the slight shimmer of twilight on leaves, predicting whether tomorrow will be suitable for planting, fishing, or travel. Even leisure, quiet games, storytelling, or the practice of calligraphy is integrated into the temporal structure of evening, demonstrating how every activity subtly aligns with the natural flow of time. In colder climates, evenings demand additional preparation. Firewood is stacked, clothing repaired, and bedding arranged to ensure warmth during long nights. The dwindling light serves as both guide and warning. Tasks must be completed before darkness obscures vision entirely. Children learn to sense the passing of time by observing adults' routines, how long it takes to prepare meals, to sweep floors, or to fetch water. These informal markers create a shared understanding of daily progression, a communal knowledge that ensures safety, productivity, and comfort even without artificial alarms. Entertainment and social interaction continue to play an important role in evening life. Communities gather around fires, sharing songs, jokes, and stories. A fisherman may recount his experiences at dawn. A merchant may describe the journey to a distant market, or an elder may share myths and legends rich with moral lessons. These stories serve multiple purposes. They teach, amuse, and, crucially, reinforce the natural cycles of life. By embedding lessons in narrative, elders instill both knowledge and timing awareness, allowing younger members to anticipate events, understand sequences, and internalize the daily flow. Meal preparation, too, remains a precise yet flexible practice. Dinners are timed according to natural cues. The cooling of the air signals when to serve hearty stews, the setting sun dictates when to extinguish cooking fires, and the readiness of preserved foods such as cheese or dried grains ensures that families eat when food is at its optimal state. Conversations around the table range from mundane matters to subtle observations about nature, cloud patterns, animal behavior, or the movement of neighboring travelers. These small discussions are more than social. They serve as ongoing training in observation and timing, reinforcing skills critical to survival and comfort in a world without mechanical schedules. Even as darkness deepens, the transition toward sleep is gradual. People rely on the diminishing light and subtle auditory cues, the distant call of a night bird, the soft murmur of the wind, or the rustle of nocturnal animals, to guide their final activities. In some regions, early water clocks or gently dripping vessels provide faint auditory signals for those needing an approximate sense of nighttime progression, though these are rare and supplemental rather than relied upon universally. Families settle into simple beds, straw mats, or hammocks, often accompanied by the gentle warmth of embers or oil lamps, drifting toward rest naturally as the day winds down. In this way, evenings are as instructive as mornings. They teach patience, observation, and reflection, reinforcing the intimate relationship humans maintain with their environment. Life without alarm clocks is not rushed. It is measured instead in actions, cues, and subtle rhythms, producing a continuity that extends from sunrise to the gentle embrace of night. Each movement, whether tending a fire, sharing a story, or merely noting the fall of darkness, contributes to a living understanding of time, a slow but intricate dance that keeps communities aligned with the world around them. As the sun climbs higher in the sky, communities settle into the steady pace of daytime life, where work, socializing, and subtle entertainment intertwine seamlessly. In villages across Europe, artisans shape the heart of their routines. A carpenter might carve intricate patterns into a doorframe while listening to the chatter of neighbors passing by, each sound informing the rhythm of his labor. Nearby, a potter spins clay on a wheel, feeling the consistency change under his fingers as the heat of midday sun gently warms the workshop. These crafts are not rushed by the ticking of a clock. They are guided by intuition, by the slow understanding of materials, and by the rhythms of nature itself. Markets, too, become vibrant centers of life, buzzing with activity that shifts naturally throughout the day. Merchants arrange fruits and vegetables with precision, stacking crates just so to attract buyers, while their calls rise and fall, matching the subtle patterns of traffic along dusty streets. Children weave between the stalls, playing simple games that mimic adult work, dragging tiny carts or imitating sellers' calls, learning both skills and the passing of time through observation. Vendors rely on visual cues, the position of the sun, shadows cast on walls, and the frequency of passerby footfalls, to anticipate busy periods, timing their sales without a single mechanical prompt. Entertainment and leisure emerge organically alongside labor. In Mediterranean villages, for instance, midday offers moments of respite beneath shaded courtyards or large fig trees. People might recount local stories, sharing curious observations or playful exaggerations from their own lives. A fisherman might describe the peculiar behavior of a school of fish he spotted that morning, while a farmer recounts a brief mishap involving a runaway goat, eliciting laughter and subtle lessons in observation and problem-solving. These small anecdotes are not trivial. They strengthen communal bonds and reinforce collective understanding of the world's rhythm. Across the seas in Asia, mornings and early afternoons are often punctuated by intricate domestic rituals. Women might tend elaborate gardens, carefully harvesting medicinal herbs at precise moments of the day, while men engage in tasks that require both timing and patience, such as repairing nets, maintaining carts, or weaving mats. Children, once their chores are done, engage in playful competitions, racing along paths, balancing bundles of rice, or imitating their elders in mock trades. All activities that subtly reinforce an understanding of time without spoken instruction. In colder climates, the interplay between work and environmental signals is even more pronounced. Long shadows from trees, the subtle shift in wind direction, and the changing angle of sunlight inform when it is safe to travel, gather firewood, or tend animals. People observe clouds and moisture patterns to anticipate weather changes, adjusting their labor accordingly. Such attentiveness transforms ordinary labor into a continuous exercise in observation, requiring careful attention, adaptability, and knowledge passed down through generations. Even meals are coordinated with an intimate awareness of nature and social rhythm. Lunch is often prepared when the heat is most comfortable, firewood is abundant, and food is fresh from morning efforts. Families gather naturally, following the cues of hunger, light, and communal expectation rather than strict schedules. Conversation flows between bites, often touching on trivial matters, rumors, or shared observations. Birds spotted near the river, strange footprints in the mud, or the expected arrival of travelers later that afternoon. These shared moments serve as markers of time and connection, weaving together the social fabric that sustains the community. Curiosity and minor distractions, far from being wasted moments, also play a critical role. A child might pause mid-task to watch a snail glide across the path or follow the flight of a bird, while an adult notices subtle changes in plant growth or soil texture. These observations, repeated daily, form a rich mental map of the environment, guiding decisions about when to sow seeds, when to harvest, or how to pace labor throughout the year. In a world without alarm clocks, such attentiveness is crucial. Every action and pause contributes to the delicate choreography of survival and social cohesion. As afternoon stretches toward evening, communities begin to transition once again. The pace of labor slows, conversations become more reflective, and preparations for the coming night begin. Shadows lengthen, fires are stoked to cook dinner, and attention gradually shifts from productive labor to rest, leisure, and communal observation. Life moves with a gentle continuity, a rhythm that is both human and environmental, flowing like a river from dawn to dusk without the need for mechanical prompts. In this way, every movement, every sound, every gesture becomes part of a living timepiece, a demonstration of how humanity mastered the subtle art of living in harmony with nature long before alarm clocks existed. As night deepens and the world outside settles into quiet, life before alarm clocks still holds small surprises, curiosities, and moments of fascination that punctuate everyday routines. In villages across Europe, for example, evenings are often filled with whispered stories about peculiar occurrences. Rumors of strangers passing through the forest, mysterious lights dancing across distant hills, or tales of animals behaving in unusual ways. Children listen intently, their imaginations capturing these details as both entertainment and subtle warnings, teaching them to observe their surroundings carefully while also marking the rhythm of daily life. Festivals and communal celebrations, scheduled according to lunar phases or seasonal cycles rather than clocks, add color and structure to existence. In early agrarian societies, harvest festivals occur when the crops reach their peak, with communities gathering to give thanks, share food, and engage in playful competitions. Children mimic adult dances, learn traditional songs, and practice small crafts, while adults negotiate communal responsibilities, exchange gossip, and ensure that every ritual is performed correctly. These events are far from rigid. Their timing depends on environmental observation, crop readiness, and collective agreement, demonstrating how human societies maintain structure without mechanical precision. In parts of Asia, evening entertainment often involves quiet reflection, storytelling, or demonstration of skills. A potter may shape a vessel while explaining its symbolism. A gardener may show how to identify medicinal herbs by their subtle scent or texture. And a musician may play simple instruments whose rhythms echo the natural pulse of the environment. In these moments, observation is both education and entertainment, and the passage of time becomes inseparable from human activity. The gentle progression of events teaches patience, enhances memory, and fosters communal understanding, embedding temporal awareness deeply into daily life. Even mundane tasks reveal a world alive with detail and ingenuity. Farmers notice the pattern of insect activity, signaling when to protect crops or harvest. Fishermen observe tides, wind, and bird behavior to determine the best moments to cast nets or travel to distant fishing grounds. Craftspeople pay attention to changes in humidity, sunlight, or the texture of materials, adjusting their work accordingly. Each small observation forms part of a continuous chain, linking action with environment and subtly regulating the flow of the day. In essence, life itself becomes a clock, each human sense attuned to patterns and cues, from the faint scent of morning due to the angle of fading sunlight. Social customs, too, play a role in guiding time. In communal households, older siblings or parents might wake younger children gently, using soft nudges or whispered words. In larger villages, neighbors informally check on each other, ensuring that critical tasks, feeding animals, drawing water, or tending fires, are completed at the right moments. Such social networks create a natural structure, compensating for the absence of artificial alarms and cultivating a shared sense of responsibility that we often overlook today. Surprises and unusual events provide both entertainment and learning opportunities. A sudden storm might arrive unexpectedly, prompting quick coordination among families to secure livestock, cover food, and adjust daily plans. Wild animals occasionally wander near homes, prompting stories and cautionary lessons that are remembered for years. Traveling merchants or wandering performers bring tales and novelties from distant regions, offering glimpses into other ways of life and reminding communities that time is not only measured by routine, but also punctuated by rare, memorable events. In coastal regions, evenings may also include natural spectacles that serve as informal markers of time. The changing color of the sky over the ocean, the arrival of migratory birds, or the rhythmic rise and fall of tides provide cues for fishing, travel, and rest. Communities develop an intimate understanding of these cycles, allowing them to plan activities with remarkable accuracy even without instruments. Observing nature becomes both a practical necessity and a form of quiet enjoyment, offering a connection to the world that mechanical devices cannot replicate. By weaving together observation, ritual, play, and curiosity, life before alarm clocks maintained a rich, continuous flow. Each moment carried significance, whether preparing meals, tending animals, participating in festivals, or observing the environment. People developed sophisticated internal timekeeping, relying on subtle cues from nature, fellow humans, and daily routines. Life was structured yet flexible, predictable yet full of small surprises, and entirely dependent on human attentiveness, creativity, and shared understanding. As the night deepens and stars begin to pierce the dark canvas above, communities around the world transition into routines designed to close the day and anticipate the next. Even in darkness, life does not stop. Rather, it shifts into a quieter, more deliberate rhythm, where observation, preparation, and ritual guide human activity. In Scandinavian villages, for instance, long winter nights require careful attention to warmth and light. Families gather around the last embers of a fire, mending clothing, repairing tools, and ensuring that provisions are ready for early morning work. The crackle of embers, the faint scent of smoke, and the occasional whisper of conversation signal to children and adults alike that the day is concluding and that preparation for tomorrow is underway. In temperate regions, households engage in similar evening practices, though they are shaped by different environmental cues. The cooling of the air, the lengthening shadows, and the soft murmur of nocturnal animals inform decisions about what tasks remain and which can wait until dawn. Water drawn for cooking or washing is stored carefully. Food left uncovered is protected from pests, and livestock are checked one last time before being secured for the night. Every action is deliberate. There is no rush dictated by a clock, but there is a clear sense of order, cultivated over generations of observation and experience. In Asian communities, evenings often include small rituals that blend practicality with mindfulness. People may tend to indoor plants, dry herbs, or prepare food for early morning consumption, while quietly reviewing the day's events and planning for upcoming tasks. Children assist by arranging tools or counting seeds, learning both responsibility and the passage of time in the process. Even leisure, such as storytelling or quiet games, is structured according to environmental cues. A flickering oil lamp signals the need to conclude an activity, and the rising moon provides gentle illumination for late chores. These small, intentional acts serve as markers of time, reinforcing a subtle but constant awareness of the day's progression. In rural North America, indigenous communities also practice detailed nighttime routines. Families check their surroundings, secure dwellings, and maintain fires to ensure safety. Hunters may share observations about animal behavior, tracking subtle signs that indicate migration patterns or upcoming weather changes. Such knowledge is passed orally, often embedded in narratives and songs, ensuring that younger generations internalize not only practical skills, but also temporal awareness. Even in the darkest hours, time is measured through actions, sensory observation, and shared understanding, not through mechanical devices. Festivities and cultural rituals sometimes extend into the evening, particularly in regions where moonlight provides sufficient illumination. Music, dance, and communal storytelling are conducted outdoors, with participants adjusting their activities according to natural light and environmental cues. These events provide both entertainment and education, teaching lessons about rhythm, coordination, and communal responsibility. Even playful competitions, such as races, balancing games, or observational challenges, serve as informal ways to teach timing, anticipation, and attention to detail. Sleep itself is a carefully managed part of this nocturnal rhythm. People do not generally lie down at the same hour. Instead, rest occurs when the body naturally signals fatigue, informed by light levels, environmental sounds, and internal cycles. Family members often wake or sleep in staggered patterns, allowing household tasks to continue uninterrupted. A small lamp flickers as someone finishes a final chore. The soft sound of water dripping in a basin signals that morning preparations can begin soon, and distant nocturnal sounds indicate the passage of time for those awake. Even dreams and reflective moments are part of this continuous flow. Individuals mentally review the day, recount tasks, and anticipate challenges for tomorrow, integrating memory, observation, and planning into an ongoing temporal awareness. These subtle mental routines supplement physical action, reinforcing a natural understanding of sequencing, duration, and cause and effect. Life before alarm clocks, therefore, is not a series of disconnected moments but a continuous, mindful engagement with the environment, social networks, and the rhythm of existence. In every culture, from the dense forests of Europe to the open plains of Asia and the river valleys of North America, nighttime routines exemplify the profound adaptability of humans. Tasks, observations, and rituals combine to form a living schedule, one that teaches attentiveness, patience, and foresight. By the time the last embers dim and families finally rest, the day has been fully lived, structured entirely by human perception, experience, and social coordination, a testament to the ingenuity of life without alarm clocks. As night gives way once again to the first hints of dawn, life resumes its careful rhythm, guided entirely by human observation, social cues, and environmental signals. In villages near trade routes, early risers are often greeted by the distant clatter of carts and the low murmur of travelers approaching, their presence signaling a new day of exchange and interaction. Merchants prepare their goods, checking the freshness of produce, arranging textiles, and quietly inspecting wares before buyers arrive. The sounds of hooves on cobblestones, the creaking of cart wheels, and the faint calls of merchants serve as natural alarms, alerting neighbors to stir and participate in daily life. Meanwhile, in coastal settlements, fishermen set out to sea guided by the first light reflecting on the water and the behavior of seabirds. The subtle glow of morning on the horizon indicates when it is safe to launch boats, while the soft calls of gulls and terns mark the start of the day. Children accompany adults, learning to read these natural signals and gradually acquiring skills that will allow them to navigate and fish independently in the future. These early hours, though quiet and understated, are filled with a sense of purpose, each action precisely timed according to environmental cues rather than mechanical devices. In inland regions, farmers and herders also rise with similar attentiveness. The dew on grass, the shifting angle of sunlight, and the first rustling of animals in pens provide signals that guide work. Livestock are tended, fields checked, and tools readied for the day's labor. Even mundane tasks, such as carrying water, cleaning utensils, or preparing firewood, are imbued with subtle timing, ensuring that the pace of activity aligns with natural light, temperature, and communal needs. In this way, people develop an intuitive understanding of duration and sequencing, becoming adept at internal timekeeping long before clocks exist. Unexpected events frequently punctuate these early hours, adding both challenge and learning opportunities. A sudden rainstorm might arrive, prompting rapid adjustments to crops or shelters. Animals may escape or wander into neighboring fields, requiring careful coordination and observation to retrieve them. Travelers may arrive earlier than anticipated, bringing news, stories, or trade goods that alter the rhythm of the day. In each instance, humans adapt quickly, guided by experience, observation, and social cooperation rather than mechanical schedules. Even social interactions serve as temporal markers. Villagers gather near wells or crossroads to exchange greetings, offer news, or share small favors. Such encounters, though brief, provide important cues for timing daily activities. A neighbor arriving to help with morning chores signals the optimal moment to begin certain tasks, while a shared meal or conversation indicates a natural break in labor. In essence, the passage of time is embedded in human relationships, as much as in environmental observation or personal routine. Across cultures, curiosity continues to shape the morning. Children might watch insects, follow the flight of birds, or play quietly in courtyards, learning patterns of behavior, cause and effect, and sequencing of events. Adults may pause to note changes in wind, soil moisture, or animal behavior, integrating these observations into decision-making for the day. Even the act of storytelling or reciting communal history in the morning can influence pacing, subtly teaching timing and observation through narrative and example. By mid-morning, the day is fully underway, yet life remains guided by rhythms, cues, and communal understanding rather than clocks. People navigate labor, social interaction, and personal pursuits in harmony with environmental signals and human cooperation. Each movement, sound, and action contributes to a seamless temporal flow, demonstrating once again that the absence of alarm clocks did not impede productivity, leisure, or learning. Instead, it fostered a nuanced, adaptable, and deeply connected relationship with time, one that modern mechanical devices often obscure. As the day gradually yields once more to the soft embrace of evening, we can step back and observe the remarkable continuity of life in a world without alarm clocks. From the earliest light of dawn to the faint glow of twilight, human activity was guided not by mechanical precision but by attentiveness, observation, and communal coordination. People of the past relied on the rhythm of nature, the behavior of animals, the shifting light of the sun and moon, and the subtle signs carried by wind, water, and earth. These cues, combined with the structure provided by social interaction and shared knowledge, created a seamless flow of daily life that was both flexible and highly efficient. Even in the most mundane moments, fetching water, tending animals, or preparing meals, there was a depth of understanding and adaptation that modern society rarely cultivates. Farmers observed clouds and dew, fishermen watched birds and tides, artisans felt the temperature and texture of their materials, and children learned through observation and imitation. Every action was intertwined with environmental signals, creating a form of living, breathing timekeeping, where awareness and attentiveness replaced the need for artificial alarms. Communities also shaped and maintained temporal flow through social networks. Neighbors communicated through sounds, gestures, and shared routines. Elders passed down subtle knowledge about timing, preparation, and observation. Families coordinated tasks in ways that ensured survival and efficiency. Festivals, storytelling, and leisure activities marked significant moments within the cycle of days and seasons, providing both enjoyment and practical cues for scheduling work and rest. Even unexpected events, sudden storms, wandering animals, or early arrivals of travelers, were absorbed into daily life, teaching adaptability and reinforcing the intimate connection between humans and their environment. This intricate system of living with natural rhythms fostered a deep awareness of the passage of time, one that is often lost in the mechanized schedules of today. Sleep, labor, play, meals, and social interaction all flowed naturally, guided by perception and habit, producing a continuity that was at once peaceful and purposeful. People learned patience, observation, and foresight, cultivating skills that allowed them to navigate life with remarkable precision without the aid of clocks or alarms. And so, as night fully descends, the embers of fires glow softly, animals rest quietly, and households settle into a gentle rhythm of sleep, we are reminded of the quiet beauty of life in harmony with the world. The rising and setting of the sun, the movements of animals, the whisper of wind through trees, all become companions in the unfolding narrative of daily existence. Life before alarm clocks was not chaotic. It was a careful, adaptive dance, a slow and intentional engagement with time, nature, and community. In reflecting on this way of living, one can almost hear the soft rhythm of days flowing like a river, the laughter of children chasing morning dew, the steady chopping of wood, the distant call of a bird, the gentle clatter of a cart, and the soft murmur of voices as evening settles. Each sound, each movement, each pause carries significance, guiding humans through the day with a harmony that is at once simple and profound. And as we imagine ourselves within these patterns, it becomes clear that the art of living attentively, observing patiently, and moving thoughtfully with the natural world is a timeless lesson. One that even now, in our age of clocks and alarms, offers a quiet, enduring wisdom. Thus, the story of life before alarm clocks is not only a tale of practicality and survival, It is a reflection on human ingenuity, adaptability, and the subtle, continuous awareness that shapes every moment. From sunrise to sunset, from work to leisure, from curiosity to rest, life flows gently and purposefully, a testament to the quiet, persistent, and fascinating ways humans have learned to live with time itself.